it's important not just that you got heart, because a lot of boxers have heart, but that's not enough. You must fight smart. You must have smarts in boxing. 2, you must be conditioned for what you're about to face. And when I say condition, preparation is the key. You need to be mentally conditioned, and you must be physically conditioned. Mental conditioning is not just about willpower and about overcoming your opponent and imposing your will on them. It also has to do with being mentally prepared. You've dealt with every possible scenario you possibly could. And even if this scenario seems new to you, you know it's made up of scenarios you've seen before. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about mental conditioning and preparation. When you are really well prepared for a fight, you're prepared for every possible scenario in that fight. You're prepared for it. It may not seem so, but when the scenario comes up in the fight, you're prepared for it. Whether it is you get hurt, whether it is somebody hits you and you are dropped, or you're not dropped, whatever it is, you are prepared for every possible scenario. And you have to understand, preparation is the key in boxing. That's the key in boxing. If you shortchange yourself in any possible way in your preparatory stage, in preparing for a fight, then it will show up in the fight. Oh, it may, depending on what opponent you're facing. Once you're facing a top level opponent, I don't care if they were former world champions, whatever, they may not be at the top of their game at the time, but if they've ever been at the top of their game, if they've ever been ranked in the top 10, ranked opponents in the world, then they're a top opponent. You have to train for these guys, dealing with every possible situation. People say, well, you need to have a fight plan and you need to watch tape on an opponent. No. What you need to do is deal with every possible scenario that could happen in that ring, and then you will be ready for whatever you have to face in that ring. Of course, for younger fighters, they may look at tape on a fighter. When I say, so that I can clarify something, when I say that I can pretty much understand a fighter's style by watching one fight of them, a lot of people do not understand what I'm talking about. This is not something that's common to me. Okay, and I'm just a casual boxing fan. Trainers and people who are in boxing, they can sum up a fighter by watching a round or 2 of them. You see what I'm saying? Because 1, they're not training specifically for that fighter per se. They're training to prepare themselves for whatever they face at a particular level. See, boxers are at different levels in boxing. So there's a lot of stuff I'm unpacking for you guys in this video, which is in separate parts, but I thought I would just talk about this a little bit more, because a lot of you fans out there probably see boxing a certain way, but it's actually a different way. Let me see if I can explain this all to you guys in one go. So for instance, a boxer, when they train for their opponent, even if you're in the amateurs or you're in the early parts of your career in boxing, you're not so concerned about your opponent. You might know their name, or you may not even know their name. When you show up on the day of the fight, you meet them. But what you're doing is you're learning and training along with your trainer or coach in developing certain characteristics which you will use in that ring. Okay? Now when you reach the championship level, now you're training against many different styles and many different looks. Okay, you're training for as much possibilities as possible, and even at the championship level, you're still learning as a fighter. So as you're learning, you are learning how to deal with these different styles and still implement different techniques and skills that you need to have for a real fight scenario, which you will put into a real fight. Now when you become a fighter like Floyd Mayweather or like Vladimir Klitschko, you already have an established style. You know what you are going to do in that ring. So it's more or less about preparing and sharpening your skills to be able to do certain things with different scenarios and situations. And what these champions do is they bring in young prospects, young fighters or amateurs who are fresh, and they can give them different looks on different things or different aspects of fighting, that a fresh perspective, let's put it that way, because they've probably seen all and done all, so it's not necessarily they're seeing something new, but it may be packaged together in a new kind of way. And that's what these world champions do. And what they help is they help the young prospects and the young fighters to have confidence in facing them, to know that they can deal with somebody at that championship level, as well as they give them a lot of experience. And so this is what is sort of an exchange. It's sort of an apprenticeship in boxing, but sometimes a fighter, he doesn't show all his skill sets in a fight. True. But the essence of who he is as a fighter, you should be able to pick up within 1 or 2 rounds, or even within 30 seconds if you're really into the boxing thing and you understand boxing. Trainers like Nate Jones, who he's one of the trainers for Floyd Mayweather. He just has to watch a boxer walking into the ring, and he knows their conditioning, he knows their state of mind. The boxer hasn't even taken off his robe yet. And this is because, again, he has so much experience in boxing. And I'm pretty sure trainers, they're able to size up a fighter pretty quickly as they're coming into a fight. They begin to understand what that fighter is doing. And of course, by the end of the first round, they pretty much size up the fighter. I've listened to a number of trainers, and when people ask if they've seen footage on the fighter, and they show them footage on the fighter, and the trainer looks at the footage, it's probably a couple minutes of footage, and they pretty much sum up the fighter. Because when you've been in boxing long enough and you've seen a lot of things, they can understand what these fighters bring to the table. So it's not strange, like I said, to be able to know the style of a fighter and sum them up by watching one fight of them. Okay? So I wanted to cover all of that so that people understand where I'm coming from. And all of my information comes from boxers. I listen to them very intently. I listen to trainers. None of these ideas are my own. Believe you me, I've heard these stuff from people in the boxing fraternity, and that's the only reason why I talk about them. I just want you guys to have respect and understand how pound for pound rankings are, and what are the respectable sources of pound for pound rankings, and how pound for pound rankings are actually measured. And I gave you a sort of somewhat partially data-based way of looking at it. The actual point system is a different thing altogether, but more or less it's a point system just like any other system, but it just looks at, in this case pound for pound, looks at all the top boxers in boxing, and the point system rates them. So when you look at these guys, I mean, to me this is a fair enough list. We're still yet to see if this list will change up within the end of this year. We'll see. And this is my little take on pound for pound lists and on the Ring Magazine, the Bible of Boxing. You guys, therefore, have a great week. God bless. Stay safe.